Welcome back to College Football Addiction. I've got Seth Fisher, MGO blog there. Seth, how you doing, man? It's been a little while.
Yeah, I have recommendation for everybody. If you are going to go skiing again after you haven't been skiing for a while, and you're like, "Hey, I'm going to use my old equipment because I got my own equipment." If it's 19 years old, probably want to rent. So my boots exploded, and I went flying. And anyone who's watching this on the video version, there I am with my chicken wing. I'm a little damaged, so
Powering through. Yeah, when you told me when we were setting this up, and then you told me like, oh, I broke my shoulder. I was like, dude, we don't have to do this right now. But so shout out to you for powering through for sure.
hey, if we're gonna be talking about Michigan football, we're gonna have to have some injuries here. So,
Yeah, good point. Good transition there to
yeah,
Michigan down a QB right now. Davis Warren for the spring. He started the bowl game. Like, was he going to factor in pretty heavily to maybe having a chance, or does he
he
still
was
kind of have a chance?
he was gonna have a chance. I saw him at a basketball game recently. He just sat right near me recently, and he still had the thing on. I mean, because it happened in the bowl game, I'm sure he's not gonna be ready for spring. And by fall, he's probably just gonna be coming back and being able to do some things. So I'm guessing that he's out this year, that Davis Warren's not going to factor in. And he's not being talked about. So the coaches mentioned today, actually, that they're going to give equal time to Mikey Keane, Bryce Underwood, and Jaden Davis. We can go through who all those guys are. Didn't mention Chase Herbstreit, so I don't think he's in the mix just yet. Uh, no walk-ons in the mix. So those are the three guys that you kind of need to think about right now. And it's really just okay, how long till Bryce, right?
Right. Do you? Would you? Yeah. So I want to get to Bryce, obviously, because that's what everybody wants to hear about, right? But would you think that Keene transferring in from Fresno State, like, would you think that he probably, leads through spring, maybe even
Yeah,
the season? Like, is that kind of your expectation, unless Bryce just goes Superman?
yeah. My idea of how it's probably going to go, because Mikey Keene played for our new offensive coordinator. They were together at the same time as he was playing with Dylan Gabriel actually at the same time too, at UCF. So they played together. They know the offense. Mikey Keene's I call him Ratchet Arm because the way he throws. Because I had to scout him last year. He played him, right? He played for Fresno State, so he kind of pushes his arm, cocks his arm back, and it's like a ratchet, and then he just kind of like pops it up in the air. But they're building the team around kind of him right now. It's weird. Like you look at like the receivers that they're picking up and how they've kind of shifted some of their thoughts. They're going to do a little bit more go and get it, and that's really Mikey Keene's game. So I'm guessing that he's going to be favored going into the season, and they want to transition Bryce in maybe after. So they've got the bye week before the Wisconsin game,
Hmm.
because you don't want to go down to Texas and start a true freshman, right? The last thing you want to do with your 5-star is just ruin him by throwing him to the dogs right away. So my guess is they're probably in the middle of the season they'll be able to reevaluate where they're at and where Bryce is at. But it's it I really believe the coaches. It's always the coaches that they're going to say it's always a competition. It's always a competition. We're always giving them equal opportunities. I'm sure that they're watching Bryce to see when he's going to be ready, when he's getting comfortable, and they'll have some packages for him and some things they can do with him. But I'm kind of expecting like JJ McCarthy's freshman year,
Hmm.
where he comes in, he's got a package, and then if you remember that game against Georgia at the end of the season, where it was, we have the starter, we have Cade McNamara, who's the starting quarterback for this team, and the offense is built around him. But as soon as you need to come back, there were obviously things that JJ could do that you were not going to get out of Cade. And
Yeah.
at that point, it was like, okay, this is the future right now. So Bryce Underwood, he's a lot younger than people realize. He's one of the youngest players of his class. He was born. I don't think he's going to turn 18 until the season starts. So we're like, he is right on the edge of how young you can be and still be playing in college. Um, and I wouldn't count out Jaden Davis either. He's a story that I think most people get his story wrong. They completely opposite of what the reality is. But I'm guessing Mikey Keene came in. He knows the offense. He knows the coordinator. They're the talent around them is kind of built towards what he does best. And I think that's the idea is Mikey Keene until Bryce is ready.
Do you think you mentioned, and I was thinking a little different situation, and the McCarthy one was probably better than the one I was thinking of, but maybe just a tad more recent with Arch playing behind Quinn. Is there a scenario where Keene plays so well that you don't want him to come out, or like does maybe the push from behind of Bryce like kind of get him to elevate to where you don't go to Bryce full time at all this year?
It's a possibility. Keene's on his last year of eligibility. And part of the idea is I think he wants to go into coaching because no one's looking at that guy saying he's going to go in the NFL. But there's a reality in football where your offense is limited by where your quarterback can put it, right? Mikey King can pop it up there and let his receiver run under it. And he's good at that. He has a really good deep ball. That's one of the best parts of his game, and it opens up other parts of his game. But it's between think of like in the NBA, you got the guard who's 6'3" and can get in the lane and shoot, and he just needs to kind of learn where he's at, versus the guy who's like, okay, he can space you, he can get some shots outside, but if he goes in the lane, he's not going to score at the rim. Mikey Keene is limited. And the offense is going to be limited by what he can do, which means the defense cannot worry about things. And what Michigan's not, Bryce Underwood's completely down for this. Michigan is not the passing team. We all know this, right? They're not the team that's just going to like throw the ball 40 times a game. That's not who they are. So what do they want out of their quarterback? They want someone who's going to threaten the most amount of field so you can't keep people like stocked in the box against the run game. Where do you get that? Well, Keene can chuck it down the field, but it's not going to like zip to anybody. You're not going to have those outs. You're not going to be able to really attack zone coverages that well because he's just not going to be able to fire it in there the way that you need him to, right? He's going to have quick, there'll be like spacing, right? They'll probably run some mesh for him, right? The kind of things that you can run for that kind of quarterback don't really get the safeties to get their noses out of the box. It's on the sideline or it's out in front of you, right? It's not the kind of thing that really scares those safeties into staying deep. And that is just a physical capability that changes the game of football the more you have it. And Bryce has it.
Yeah.
No one else on the offense has it. So it's only a matter of time.
Would it, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would it shock you? Because obviously all the expectations are on Bryce. I'll preface the question before I even ask it. All the expectations, all the comparisons, which I hate the comparisons, like is he the next this guy or whatever. Like I hate that always. Yeah. But we do it so much in this sport. And so I'm not going to do it here, but I do know that those comparisons are out there. I know the expectations right now as the number 1 overall quarterback and the starting quarterback at Michigan. I get that. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would it shock you if he did go off and took the lead by the end of this spring and summer and fall and was starting game 1?
How much would it shock me? Not that much, really. I mean, because what they can do is they can have him be the secondary guy and they can still use him. So if Mikey Keene is really just operating the offense, we've been through there before, right? We had a 5-star quarterback just a few years ago with JJ. So we know how, maybe not the specific staff, but we know how Sharon Moore has seen it done before. We also have the example of Drew Henson he was a freshman the same year I was. He was a number 1 overall guy too. And he's a very close comp, just a local kid with a ridiculously great arm, a lot of athleticism, a lot of intelligence, and is willing to do what you want him to do, right? He was just a team player kind of guy, which is all the formulas that you want out of a quarterback, and that's why he was the number 1 overall player. But he's young. He played for a pretty good program, but it's not like he played against the best competition. He certainly has not seen all the stuff that you're going to throw at him. And you're talking about Ohio State at the end of the year, right? And they got a brand new defensive coordinator who's going to have his system and the way that they want to attack. So my guess is Michigan's going to want to keep everybody on their toes, which means keeping Mike Keene one of those, part of the program either way. You want to have both because you're going to want to have this. You don't want to put too much on the freshman, and you don't want to give your opponent too many weeks to prepare for the things that you do.
Yeah.
So my guess is it's going to be a package. They're going to put a lot on film, and then basically it's going to be like, okay, this week we're going to practice this thing, and whatever you're good at this week, we'll go and put that in the offense, and then we'll pull back as soon as you get to the end of it. That's really what the plan was with J.J. McCarthy, and it looked pretty good as a freshman. And the minute he went over what he could do, like like the whole world exploded. Like it was just so. If you
A
go back and
shift.
watch, yeah, you go watch the Michigan State game because they tried at one point in the Michigan State game in 2021. They put JJ in there like, let's see what he can do because McNamara really was not hitting all those deep shots that State was leaving wide open. And so they're like, okay, well, we got JJ and we got this arm. Let's try it. He immediately goes out there, runs to the sideline, fumbles the ball, and it's an important turnover that lets State get back in the game, and the State actually wins that game in the end. So it's a freshman quarterback. I am not going to tell you a freshman quarterback is going to start. It is a hard job, especially in this conference. The amount of time and effort and the intelligence of the defensive players and the defensive coordinators that you're playing these days. We're not the only team that has an NFL defense now, right? Everyone is running switch coverages.
Yeah.
Everybody is running zone blitzes. Everybody is confusing you before the snap. It is as complicated now in college as it was in the NFL when I first started watching and covering football. It is a lot to put on a just turned 18-year-old. So I will not be surprised at all if Mikey Keane's the starter all season. I would be shocked, barring injury, if Bryce isn't part of the offense.
Yeah.